Alrighty, welcome to the chapters of this game that really pushed me to the edge of my existence. I dove into chapter 7 headfirst into cement with PTSD from the Leviathan fight I had just finished. I was slowly trying to cope with the fact that I'm approaching the hardest parts of this challenge. While taking an elevator ride down to the processing subdeck, I got ambushed and my life taken from me. I was on a mission to obtain the emergency access key in order to open the control room. Completely overwhelmed by the amount of necromorphs on this floor, I shot a fire hydrant into the swarmers thinking it would explode. However, this just isn't that type of game. Getting rid of these rocks was my next objective. Now firing these asteroids into the Bifrost was no issue whatsoever. The problem came right after, because every necromorph on the planet decided to attack me. I restarted this section way more times than I think anyone has ever needed to. The amount of times I saw my upper body detached from my legs was incredible to say the least. I grabbed the access key and ran past the doorway just to instantly explode from an unknown source. As I was walking, I saw a dead man and decided to not let his death be in vain. I ripped his limbs off in order to conserve ammo and used them to try and kill the swarmers, but I'd argue that doing nothing would have been more effective than this. I took the elevator down to deck D and ended up killing myself horribly. A nice little gondola ride through the corroded vessel led me to my girlfriend Nicole, who I've been having wet visions about. She said she will unlock the door for me. All I have to do is protect her like the good boyfriend I was. But just like in real life, I failed at being a good boyfriend and Nicole died. Unlike in real life though, I had a second chance in the game to show Nicole I was truly a man worth her time. Unlocking the door gave me the chance to pick up a beacon that I would later use to call for help. Deck C was now available for me to go to. I made it to the giant rock and disabled all of the gravity tethers in order to put the beacon on top of it. After all, this is DeadSpace, so of course something went wrong when trying to launch the rock into the unknown depths of space. I now had to manually go and launch it myself. I found myself in a small room with limited ammo after all the hell I just went through. This room broke me. I could not find a way to kill all of these necromorphs. They were basically all enhanced, so they ate all the bullets I shot at them for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and on top of that, I had no stasis, so I couldn't slow them down. After seeing my tendons get ripped to shreds again and again and again, I decided I had enough of this room. There had to be another way. I backtracked and went in search for anything I could find. Luckily, my dumbass found a good amount of ammo and even a stasis pack that I left behind. I went back to the room and was now confident in beating this section. All it took was one try, and just like that, my self-esteem grew as well as my ding-dong. With the mission not complete, I rode the tram to chapter 8. In chapter 8, we find out that the USM Valor has heard our distress call, but we can't really communicate back to them since the comms array needed some fixing. I pulled out the old electrician's license I had in my back pocket and charged full speed ahead towards the comms array. Quarantine hit, and I was trapped in the atrium and forced to battle my way out. These exploders posed quite a threat. Blowing me up before I even had a chance to do anything was not something I was looking forward to in my run. My ammo was at an all-time low, just like my bank account, and I was forced to stockpile the bombs of these bombers in order to try and conserve ammo. It was all good until the enhanced slashers came through, and not only did they make me waste my last shots, but they also made me waste my time since they ripped me to pieces instantly. I was hoping that there was like an infinite ammo glitch at this point, but there was just nothing. I felt as though my run had come to an end because I just found this to be impossible. I got tired of seeing poor Isaac's intestines, so I took a break and just thought about different ways I could approach this. I figured that the only way out of this was to save as much ammo for the slashers and try my hardest to stomp out the exploders. With my plan in full effect and my diaper full of shit, I shot a bomb into the last slasher and ended this terrible section. I took the elevator to the 3rd floor and made it to the communications hall where I met the Divider. This lengthy Slenderman wannabe bastard ran for my cheeks, but using my quick thinking skills and a box I found on the floor, I was able to avoid him without shooting a single bullet. I rode another gondola and made it to the comms array. This took longer than it needed to, not because it was hard or because I kept dying, but because I refused to shoot a bullet. I eventually, after like 10 minutes of just throwing these satellite dishes, I turned on the comms array and was rewarded with another obstacle. It turns out that the USM Valor was unaware that they picked up an escape pod that actually contained a necromorph inside it. Daniels tried her hardest to warn them, but something big was blocking the blast doors, so the signal could not reach the USM Valor in time. That big something was this huge disgusting mess of a necromorph. After a sequence that looked like it was taken straight out of Independence Day, I celebrated this achievement only to get hit by the USM Valor. We were too late and the necromorphs killed the crew on board, causing the ship to collide into the Ishimura. After realizing all hope was lost, Hammond decided it's time to fuck the mission and just find a way home. He knew of an escape shuttle on the crew deck of the Ishimura that was only missing a new singularity core that just so happens to be on the USM Valor. Chapter 8 ends with me heading towards the area where the Valor crashed. So, as you can see, my recording got just a little bit messed up for Chapter 9. It's only the beginning though, so bear with me as you stare at this horrible mess of a recording. I had to get into the USM Valor, but in order to do that, I first had to launch these radioactive balls into space. I destroyed the 6 panels that held the blast door shut and got rid of the green balls. I then boarded the Valor. I was now headed to the engine room where the singularity core was held. While in the Valor's cargo bay, I met the Twitchers. These necromorphs really made me understand who Daddy was. They spanked me real good. I had to get to the other side of this room, but there were these boxes I had to move using my telekinesis in order to do so. So sadly, it was not at all easy. This was another roadblock I hit in my run. A roadblock so difficult that I literally went on Google to see how this was even possible, but I couldn't find any answers due to the fact that no one was dumb enough to do this challenge. So in return, I had to come up with a way to do it without using so much ammo. I tried to manipulate the boxes in a way where I can trap the Twitchers. While doing this, I found areas that contained more ammo, so I was very happy about that. I got a nice little strategy going where I could consistently trap one of the Twitchers. It took a while to figure this out, so if anyone is attempting this run, you are welcome. I'm giving you the keys to success. After lots and lots of trial and error, I trapped the necromorph and made a beeline straight for the exit door. I shot one of the barricades into the Twitcher, which made him go straight into the gravity panels on the floor, killing him instantly. This gave me my ticket way out of this retarded area. Look, I know I don't show you guys everything or how long it actually takes to get past these parts, but take my word for it. It takes a really long time and it really puts a fucking strain on my brain. I can promise you that this challenge is much harder than it seems. I made it to an elevator in which a man tells me that instead of escaping, I should use the shuttle to get rid of the marker and stop the necromorphs for good. Now on my way to the engine room, I yet again hit another roadblock. But I realized that in this area, I had an infinite supply of stasis. So you bet your sweet bippy I abused the hell out of it to get me past this. This next part, however, threw me around like I was a wet towel. I felt very mistreated and felt as though this game was taking advantage of me. I felt that the game didn't expect that anyone was stupid enough to attempt a run like this. The sheer amount of tomfoolery in this room was wild. I literally had to check my recording to make sure it didn't get corrupted. That's how long this part took. I was at the point where I just zoned out. I became unaware of my surroundings and just got completely sucked into this part. I literally had to record 2 separate clips just to get past this area. It was just ridiculously insane. Every enemy besides the brute was in this room. I died in every way possible, but I eventually got very lucky. I won't even say it was skill because it wasn't. I got lucky and actually made it past this part. After that disgusting, putrid, horrendous, awful level design, I made it to the fucking engine room. Now nothing crazy happened here. I meleeed 6 panels, which made the fire stop blasting, and I stole the singularity core. Trying to get out, I found Hammond, who sadly got his leg torn off by an enhanced brute. Hammond went out like a champ, and it was up to me to avenge his death. Now I didn't realize this brute was enhanced, so it killed me a lot of times. I didn't even have ammo actually. There were a couple times where I died solely because I had no ammo. All the brute does is take a breath on me and Isaac's body just falls to pieces somehow. For this boss fight I took my sweet time. I ran around this generator making sure I carefully shot at the brute. Not wasting ammo was the name of this game and I did just that. The beast fell to its knees and with that I escaped the Valor and made it out of Chapter 9. Chapter 10 had me thinking that all I had to do was get to the shuttle and leave the Ishimura once and for all. However, I came to find out that the shuttle is missing its navigation cards. So guess what? It's time to find them. I came across a room that would make the likes of Jim Jones very proud, and I realized that my sensitivity was all out of whack. I'm not sure what happened, but my sensitivity got fucked up. All that hard work I put into learning how to use my sensitivity was all for nothing. I had a feeling that if I couldn't fix this sensitivity, then I would not be able to finish this game. Pressing forward, I made it to Dr. Mercer again, who viciously shoved a metal stake into a poor man's cranium. It was in this room where I needed to find a crew key in order to access the doors necessary for finding the navigation cards. Now look, I'm a dumbass, and I could just not find the key. I thought it would be laying on the floor, but it wasn't. Combine my stupidity with my messed up sensitivity and a refusal to use ammo, and you got yourself probably the most brain dead player in DeadSpace. My sensitivity just wasn't cutting it. I couldn't find the key card, so I decided to go another way, but I could not get past the Guardian and the Enhanced Slasher due to my newly acquired terrible aim. I stopped the recording and decided to mess around with my computer settings. I eventually figured out the problem and fixed my sensitivity. I found new confidence and blasted through the Guardian only to find out that the door next to him required the crew card all along. So I basically wasted my time and I was back to finding the crew card once again. It ended up being in a box next to a poor human who was fused with the wall. I didn't check this box because I didn't expect any key items to be in them, since usually those items are found laying around, and in these boxes there's usually just ammo or medication. I may have found the key card in my way out of that room, but my intelligence was still considered missing. While looking for the first navigation card, a drag tentacle posed quite a threat this time. I'm not sure if it was due to the fact that my gun had no damage or the fact that I just can't aim, but it took me a very long time to kill it. It was literally only possible if you hit every shot and only reloaded between animations of getting dragged. If you even wasted a second, you would not make it. After nearly 12 minutes of doing this section over and over, I did it. Painstakingly avoiding these enemies and trying to get the keycard out of this room without using any ammo was a challenge, but with some newly found knowledge about the layout of this room and a few shots to the twitcher, I was able to do it. The next navigation card was found in the basketball court, and after passing a lady who gave herself a new haircut, I ended up getting the final navigation card. The hunter got released on me once again, and after a very dangerous, very embarrassing journey, I made it to Kine. He told me that if I can get the marker back to the planet, I could contain the hive mind and end this nightmare. Ignoring the fact that he was talking to his dead wife right in front of me, I still felt trust towards him and decided to do what he told me. I installed the 3 keycards and was now in charge of taking care of the hunter once and for all. I killed the twitcher and turned the hunter into a crawler in order to finally burn him and completely put an end to his lifespan. With Kine safely on the shuttle, all I had to do now was make it to the tram. I witnessed Dr. Mercer turn into what he worshipped most, and after getting sucked by the infector, I made it to Chapter 11. Chapter 11 sees me trying to transport the marker into the hangar in order to load it up into the escape shuttle. I was foolish to think that this would be just a simple transport mission. It would have been easier to do a handstand with my hands tied behind my back and I was submerged on the water than to transport this marker. Now the problem that I was having was the fact that these enemies just came out the ass. They just didn't stop. Every little inch that I moved that marker just made a wave of enemies spawn in. The word overwhelmed does not give justice to the feeling I had during this section. Sure, there was some ammo here and there, but it never felt like enough. I figured out that if I stayed in this little area, I can at least thin out the enhanced slashers very easily. I went through the waves and after carefully guiding the marker to where it needed to be, I ended up in another lockdown sequence. Death, decapitation, blood, guts, and self-deprecation are just a few words I pulled out of my roster to explain this part of the chapter. A couple of leg shots and stomps were crucial in order to pass this part. I had so little ammo that for the final enemy, I had to resort to throwing a box at the necromorph multiple times in order to kill it. Arriving at the hangar, I turned off the gravity and moved the marker into position. With the marker now loaded, I made my way to Kine, only to see his heart get shot out of his chest. That bitch Daniel shot my only friend and betrayed me. We find out that all along, she was in charge of taking the marker back to Earth, and that the marker wasn't actually the real marker, but a man-made one. With this new information spiraling in my head, I began to ponder what was real and what was not. My girlfriend Nicole appeared out of nowhere and convinced me to pull Daniels back into the hangar. Daniels escaped in an escape pod, but I, however, still got the shuttle back. After realizing that I didn't have the ammo to kill these leapers, I retraced my steps and got more ammo. After that, it was sayonara to the Ishimura and hello to sweet, sweet nature in Chapter 12. After what felt like years, I made it to the outside world. I unloaded the marker and was on another transport mission. I had to transport the bootleg marker to a special podium in order to have it suppress the hive mind. Put it this way, a lockdown happened, I ate my own fecal matter many times, but I eventually almost reached my destination. I say almost because this part is single-handedly the hardest part of this entire run. Let me explain why. I had to make do with only the ammo they gave me in this little area, and whatever ammo I came in with, which wasn't a lot by the way, since before this part, I used it up on all the enemies to get here. Now the ammo in this area was generous, but that did not matter. I'm pretty sure this place had an infinite amount of necromorph spawns. It didn't matter how much ammo I had, since eventually I would just run out of it. On top of all this, they had these drag tentacles blocking my way to get to the podium, so I had to save ammo to take those out as well. They didn't even spawn regular slashers. They spawned the weird tentacle babies, which were enhanced. They spawned the enhanced slashers, and they spawned the very fast twitchers. So basically all that ammo that they gave me didn't even matter, since all the enemies in this part were bullet sponges. You'll see how many times I died in this part in the death count of this video. Trust me, it's not pretty. Finding my purpose in life was easier than finding a solution to this area. I was all out of options, so I decided to see if I could run past these drag tentacles, and to my surprise, I could. I got killed eventually by one of them, but I now knew that I could definitely run past these tentacles, so I came up with another plan. I moved the marker as far as I could without getting hit by the tentacle, and decided to stay at the end of the walkway shooting the necromorphs. Thank the almighty gods that this tactic actually works. Now it isn't the most flawless tactic out there, but it gets the job done, and it gets it done very well. The necromorphs were being very generous and they dropped ammo that I actually needed. All this extra ammo plus this strategy gave me an opening to drag this marker to the podium and finally complete this entanglement I was in. Daniel shows up out of nowhere and shows me that all along my girlfriend was dead and that I was going insane due to the marker. In disbelief, I marched on and witnessed Daniels die in a way no person should die. To say she died horribly was an understatement. With Daniel's lifeless corpse right next to me, it was time for the hive mind fight. I'll keep it $150 with you and tell you that this boss fight was hard, but not that hard once you realize that it's the only thing stopping you from beating the game. I gathered up all the ammo around me and was ready. The only hard parts of this boss fight was when the fat pregnant necromorph showed up. I'll be honest, after a couple of runs I just got lucky and none of the babies came out of its belly when it got killed. If those babies kept coming out, I don't think I would have been able to defeat this boss because the plasma cutter is just the worst gun to deal with the swarmers. I blasted all of this creature's weak points until eventually it was over. The creature was not able to take any more firepower and died right before my eyes. I hopped in my ship, and with one final jump scare, DeadSpace was done. My suffering was over, and all that went into my head was that I am a champion. No one is better than me, and no one can be like me. I am a god. This feeling of happiness got shut down with the thought that DeadSpace 2 was next. With that all said, I had an answer to the age-old question. Can you beat DeadSpace without using the store, with only the plasma cutter, in impossible mode, and with no upgrades? Yes, clearly you can. I just didn't. It just wasn't easy. I just want to say thank you guys again for watching. I know I have 0 subscribers at the moment, and I basically did this challenge for no one, but it was a lot of fun, and I proved that with perseverance and consistency, anything is possible. For those of you that actually come across this video, please subscribe to the channel and leave any challenges you want to see done by me in the comments down below. As always, I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.